Welcome to the Depressy podcast.
I'm Missy.
And I'm Allie.
And we're sisters
in the mental health field,
talking about all things stressy
and depressy. Did I sound
okay? Not at all. I wish I should have recorded it on my phone. You're like, I'm gonna be so quick, you'll see. And it's like, welcome to the Depressy podcast. I'm Missy and I'm Allie. I'm like, see? Okay, whatever. It's weird because when we're actually just talking, it's not like I feel like there's such a lag. It's literally just
Maybe
when it needs to be,
and we don't realize it.
I don't know, but.
Anyway, for viewers, listeners, you might know that it's always a struggle that it sounds like the other one is lagging when we're doing our intro, but we don't notice it any other time. So we kind of get into tussles about it sometime.
I feel like, well, I wonder if it's just easy in everyday speak. Like, there's little pauses between you say something, the other person responds, but this one, it's like we gotta be right on top of each other. Yeah. Anyway, should we do our disclaimer? Thank you.
Yeah, disclaimer. Getting so sick of these disclaimers because I'm like, disclaim. Is anyone new watching? Don't take this as mental health advice. Always speak to your doctor and your therapist or whatever. And this is just for education.
We're not for real.
We're not for real. We're just doing this for fun.
Exactly.
Anyway, do you want to start with your stressy depressy?
Well, I think my stressy depressy is going to segue us right into our topic.
So true. Okay, I'll talk about mine. I actually had a pretty good week. I'll say there's two stressy depressies because one of them is so small. Okay, you guys can maybe see I like covered it up with concealer, but I had this like, it's literally a scab right here. I'm pointing to my like jaw. It was like a pimple that I picked, whatever. It itched so much. I've never experienced this where like a scab itches so much. So I kept itching it and then the scab would fall off and then it'd bleed like so much and I'd like have to hold pressure. But even while I was holding pressure, it was like an insatiable itch. So I'm literally like falling asleep the other night and I just realized there's like blood all over my pillow because I've been like scratching it as I'm trying to fall asleep. And I'm like, shoot, that was annoying. Okay. But my real stressy depressy, which again, it wasn't that bad, but I am so noise sensitive. Like, I do not like loud noises. Lucas and I went to the movies the other day. The movie theater, whatever. And I wear noise canceling headphones in the theater. Like, I really do not do well with loud noises. So it is always like the bane of my existence living in the city. And we're lucky that it's pretty quiet where we are. But like, we have one neighbor kind of like, one next door neighbor who has a rooftop patio, and the rooftop patio is like right next to the window of our bedroom, that sometimes they will like literally play super loud music and be screaming and like doing cocaine. Like, actually we found bags outside, so like really just like all night, like through 5 a.m.
party,
6 a.m.
yeah,
like hardcore loud partying, and it's like so loud. This wasn't that. We also have neighbors that are more like across the street neighbors, or like we're backyard neighbors with them, and I know they have like teenage kids, so the teenagers were having like a little party, and they do it once a year. It's always Halloween. It's not as loud, but it's pretty loud. Like, they're playing music and they're talking so loudly. And so I had we have the ALEXI, I can't say it or she'll wake up, playing like white noise.
The Amazon,
Yeah, I had my noise canceling little earbuds in, playing white noise as well, and I could still hear them. Like, it was so loud. And then Lucas can fall asleep with the white noise, because if the white noise like covered it up, then it'd be like great. But it's like this like white noise, like washing machine noise, plus like music and talking that you can still hear above it. So he turned that off, but I was already asleep. So like him turning that off, then like even with my noise canceling headphones, playing white noise in my headphones, the noise became louder that I woke up and I was like,
oh man.
Ugh. And that was probably till 1 a.m., which isn't as bad, like, because then the rest of the night you can get a good restful sleep without waking up a lot. But the anger and rage that it lights inside of me is like fury. Like, I think most people get annoyed by it, but like the amount of annoyed I get is like, I genuinely want to scream out and be like, shut up. Like, I don't know.
You're going to be in trouble. Or yeah, Allie, you're going to be in trouble when you are an old person, because I feel like older people, just stereotypically, are more like the stereotype of like, kids pipe down.
I won't be able to hear.
Good point. Yeah.
Actually, I think
it's always funny to me when you're like already young and you're like, these kids need to keep the volume down.
Honestly, kids need to keep the volume down. Everyone needs to keep the volume down. I actually think as a society, we need to keep the volume down.
Sure.
I'm loud sometimes, so like I could listen to myself, but it doesn't annoy me when I'm being loud.
Self-aware. That's self-aware.
Also, it doesn't bother me as much when little kids are being loud, because that doesn't bother me as much. I don't know why. Anyway, it's like really like the music and the loud partying, which like really annoys me. Music really annoys me when I'm trying to sleep. Anyway, I have someone close to me in my life who is like losing their hearing a little bit. And, you know, they're older. They're like in their late 60s, mid 60s, let's say. I don't know. And I literally was like, you know, I can't wait to lose my hearing because I am so annoyed with hearing a lot. Like, again, I am the girl who like needs to walk around with noise canceling headphones. Like, can't listen to fireworks, can't, like, noises I'm so sensitive to. But, you know, wasn't the best response because she is telling us about how it's actually been hard for her to lose her hearing. And it's actually like she has like tinnitus. And I'm like, girl, sign me up. So it wasn't the most empathetic response that I could have had. But I'm like, you mean you can't hear us well? I can't wait to not hear these bitches. Like, I was like, come live in my apartment. I can't wait to not hear.
Yeah. That is interesting. I feel like it points to where even when, no matter the situation, even if it genuinely is a difficult or stressful one, you may always be able to find just a little nugget of like, you know what? Maybe I won't hear as annoying sounds. Not to minimize that situation. But
I'm so noise sensitive. Like, I don't think I can like
I know that
express
about you.
People like, it's like the chewing that listening to people chew, listening to people swallow, listening to people sigh. Like, I get enraged. And it's funny because sometimes people have other sensory sensitivities and I don't have it, but I like respect it. I'm like, yeah, you tell them. Like even like smaller things, like, okay, I don't get bothered by this at all, but Lucas and honestly some of his family is so light sensitive, but like in a way that I don't understand. Literally, they don't like when like the main light is on in a room, like the overhead.
Yeah, there are people like that. There's a contingent, I think.
They prefer like the lower yellowy light. Like, I'm not trying to like like the not less harsh
small lamps all around,
to the point I won't like call this person out exactly, but someone in Lucas's family will travel to hotels or Airbnbs with light bulbs because they get so sensitive to like different kinds of lighting.
You know what?
They want their own lighting.
I respect it. If you know what makes you happy.
Yeah, I do respect it. Whatever makes you happy. I'm a big like, it's so hard for me to be sensorily uncomfortable. My gosh, I can't even like, it feels like I'm gonna crawl out of my skin.
I am not a sensory sensitive girl. I feel lucky for that. I think I like maybe to touch is like the biggest one I can relate to. Like if clothes don't fit me quite right, like I feel like growing up like preferred, I hated wearing jeans. Like I don't like things that are too tight fitting on me. And I've gotten a lot better at that with age, but I wouldn't say that it's anything that I really struggle with. So I definitely can't.
I would describe it similar to like when you have like a bad itch, like all of a sudden you start like literally tweaking. Like you're like, oh my god.
No,
like,
I know you. Yeah,
it.
That's how I feel like
I get you would do anything to get out of this situation. Like that's how I feel when I'm very sensory overloaded.
I know.
To the point where I'll describe like sometimes if I'm very overwhelmed, Lucas will try to like just like he'll like rub my shoulder and I'll go ow because it hurts.
That's funny. You know what? Jacob kind of like is like that. That's so interesting. And he's more sensory sensitive. So that's a really interesting.
Go, ow. That's how I would describe it. It's like when I'm so overstimulated, someone tries to touch me or like a noise happens, I'm like, literally, ow. Like, I always say static touch because Lucas will be like rubbing me. Like I turn into like a demon.
He's like giving you one of those. What are those like massages called that you're not actually really touching? Like they're Or sort of just like
Literally,
cleansing
yeah.
your aura.
The
Like that's what
energy.
he's doing
Yes,
to
that
you. He's
is
just
what I
like,
need.
there, just stroking like right above you, not touching. Yeah, I feel like Jacob, he doesn't have your exact sensory things. Like his are more, I would say, smell and taste are his.
Oh,
like,
he's so smell and taste. Oh
my
my gosh.
gosh, I
Okay,
just
that
think
drives
that
me crazy.
it's just so funny because like it's like if we cook, like he just doesn't like certain flavors mixing. Like he's not like an ultra picky like person, but it's just like to the point where, okay, if we like cooked spinach in a pan and then we're gonna cook, let's say, chicken next, I'm like, okay, now throw that in the pan next. He's like, we have to wash it. I'm like, why do we need to wash it? We're eating them all together on our plate. He's like, you can taste the spinach in the chicken.
Yeah,
and
I
I'm
remember
like,
one
how?
time I was having a Capri Sun and like pasta or something. Like it's a meal that like a child would have, you know, like
Sure,
it's not
yeah.
so offensive.
You're
It's
not
like I'm
claiming
having,
it's
like
pickles
I'm
and
trying to
ice
think, like,
cream. Yeah.
yeah, you know, yeah, exactly. I'm not eating pickles and ice cream, but like he's like, you're having that together, like literally cannot even
He cannot
fathom
commute. He can't compute.
having like
no,
a
totally.
sweet drink with like a savory meal like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it, like, this is literally like this is not even my stressy depressing, but Jacob doesn't like sweet and savory things together. I think because to him the flavors are too discordant. And so many fall dishes are all about that. They're like
That's
sweet
true.
potato and squash and all this stuff that's so yummy, and I love it, and he does not like any of it, so we can't make it for dinners, which is a single tier. Not if that's the worst thing, then I think that's fine, but I honestly
No,
end up making that stuff for
is-
lunch a lot during the fall because I love it. But I'm like, wow, it's just I don't, my mind does not
It's
compute
funny,
it.
though, because in some ways, I feel like Alex and I, my brother, have very similar taste buds. Like,
You guys do have
aligned.
more similar taste buds.
we
I don't think
I
mine.
mean, actually, almost always we will end up like ordering the same thing on the menu. Like to the
That's
drink.
funny.
Like, you know, like and
Yeah,
it'll be
yeah,
the
yeah.
most
No, I
random
have
drink.
different. I have different
You are more
taste
like
buds from
mom.
you. No, I don't think so.
Really?
I don't think I'm
I've
like mom
always thought
at all.
that you really.
No.
I've always. 'Cause I remember
No.
growing up, you guys would always order like the same thing, and I would be like,
I think
getting-
maybe as a kid, but now I feel like certain things, but I feel like there's a lot of ways that we don't overlap. Like mom overlaps with you and Alex in that you all like sweet drinks. I do not like sweet drinks. I get that away from me. I can't have it be sweet.
depends on the sweet drink, miss. Because I don't. Okay, the only sweet drink, the sweetest drink that I like is, we'll say it together, 1, 2, 3, Shirley Temple.
Shirley Temple.
See, that's an example of how you were delayed. But
That was at the same time for me.
really, I said
We'll
Shirley
see.
Temple,
Yeah.
and then like it took 1, 2, 3 for you to say it. But
No.
okay. Anyway, that's my sweetest. Like I could sip that up, but I
Ugh.
agree that I'm not a big like I'm not gonna go to Starbucks or whatever and get like a very
Oh,
sweet drink.
No.
I don't
That stuff
like
is
that
just gross to me.
anymore.
Even the ones that people swear to me, they're like, it's not actually that sweet. I can't do it. I just simply can't. Okay. We're getting in the weeds. We're getting in
Okay.
the weeds.
Anyway, I want to just put the viewers onto something that I feel like I need to share about, which is a Roy Rogers. I did not know what that drink was. I don't drink alcohol. This is an alcohol-free drink. It is a Shirley Temple, but in a Coke. So it's like the grenadine mixed with Coke. But the best is, because again, I actually prefer Diet Coke to Coke for sweetness quality. Diet Roy Rogers. Get yourself Diet Coke with some grenadine in it. Crazy. And I'm actually surprised if you order this at a restaurant, like they know what it is. I'm like, how's
Like,
everyone
who's
else
out
know
here
what Roy
ordering
Rogers?
this?
I know. But yeah,
Well.
people know what it is. And I just wanted to share the wealth. If you're someone that is also a Shirley Temple lover, maybe this is something you could try.
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's
I
time
know
for
that
your
was really,
stressy
that
depressy.
was, yeah, this is my stressy depressy. So I feel like this week has been so much has happened. But one big piece of news that I got is that, and I'll kind of frame this because I think this is maybe like more than I think stressy depressy maybe minimizes the whole situation, not just like my situation, but the whole situation. But basically, I don't know if viewers are familiar with like stem cell and bone marrow registries, where basically you can swab your cheek and then be in this registry for anyone who might be in need of bone marrow or stem cells. And often these are like cancer patients or just people in need of those types of treatments. And so the idea is that I think I did it when I was at like a conference, actually, for like a psychology conference. Because there was like a huge group of people, they were like, this is a good opportunity. Lots of people will swab. And it's so unlikely that you're ever going to be a match, because it's just really unlikely that the person who needs it, their match is also in this registry, right? All that. So I was like, okay, I didn't really think of anything of it. And I just got notice this week, actually, that I am a match with someone. And so I don't really know many more details at this point. I don't really have much information at all. I know that in some cases, I think actually in like more than half of cases, even though you are called upon as a match, you don't end up donating, because usually what I think the reason why would be that the person who you matched with, the person in need of the treatment, is doing a different treatment that actually maybe it's like a clinical trial or something else that ends up going well. So then they're like, okay, they don't need the stem cells or the bone marrow anymore. So I don't really know what the likelihood is that I will end up donating, but I do know that there is a chance now that I will be at some point soon in the next few months, it's kind of unclear, donating stem cells to someone in need.
And I just want to say something, because, I freaking want to get called on. Like, I don't know what it is, but I'm like, I was like, ask them if I can do it instead. Like, we probably have this.
But like, you're in the registry too. So I think that they would have chosen
like,
you.
Maybe they just chose like, maybe there's multiple
But they
matches.
tend to prefer, but I think they tend to prefer early 20s. So I think that like if you had been a match too, and also in the registry, I think you would have been the priority. So that also probably tells us we're not a match for each other. But
crazy.
I digress.
Actually, Mom and Dad banked my cord blood. Did you know that? And they pay for it every year, and they didn't do for you or Alex.
What?
Because what happened was they didn't know about it when you were born. And then someone with a flyer came by when I was born, and they were like, sure. They were like, yeah. And then they just like keep paying for it because they were like, what if? Like, it's literally frozen somewhere. And then for Alex, they were like, I think it's like not as, like, there's a low chance that like the cord blood actually can be used.
I
like,
see.
Even as like stem
it's not
cells.
the same.
It's not. Huh. I think it's not a nothing, but it's like, so like these companies are profiting off of this, right? Like, it's not.
I see.
Otherwise, like, it would be like totally recommended to do this, maybe more standard. But anyway, I kind of like just feel safe knowing that.
No, that's great.
Yeah.
So obviously this is like a really wild situation, and I want to be like extremely clear that the main, like, the person going through this treatment, who I don't know really don't know anything about,
is like huge. This
is like,
say
I wouldn't even
depressed.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's why I sort of feel weird being like, this is my stressy depressy, because in comparison to what this person is going through, this is the smallest potatoes. And of course, like, there's no doubt in my mind that I'm going to do it if there is a need, if they do need it.
But what's the issue, Missy?
The tough thing for me is that I have a needle phobia, and like really, really bad. Like, it's hard for me to even talk about. I definitely have gotten better, but like,
yeah, we might need to take like some breaks as we're filming
today.
This episode. I'm feeling
yeah.
Sometimes you get a little fainty even thinking about it.
And so this is like something I guess we can tease apart, which is, well, a phobia, you might be familiar, is just when someone has like a really pronounced fear of something. It's not just that they don't like it or that they're worried about it. It's that they have a really intense reaction, like almost like you would think of like a trigger with like a trauma response, but they haven't had trauma with this thing. Like,
do you feel like I caused your needle phobia?
Yeah, you know what? I do feel like there's an origin story there. No, not that you like. Okay, so
no.
The interesting thing, needles are one of the common phobias that people have, where they, again, it's not big misconception. It's not just that you don't like them or that you think that they hurt or something like that. It's like you have like a really pronounced fear response, like almost going into a panic state when you think about them or see them or experience them. The thing that can complicate needle phobias, and this is not a one-to-one, so it's almost, think of it as like a Venn diagram. A lot of people with needle phobias also have what's called a vasovagal reaction to needles. And so that's not everyone with a needle phobia, but many people do have this. And also some people have a vasovagal reaction and they don't have a phobia. So it's, again, it's kind of like a Venn diagram.
I fit in. I actually do faint sometimes when I'm getting my blood drawn.
Right. But so vasovagal is when you basically faint. You like the blood just all rushes from your head and you're just out. And I really just feel like this is a biological reaction that I've learned ways to help prevent it from happening, but the initial biological response of me feeling lightheaded and like I won't be able to see or hear is something that just happens. Like it truly feels like someone presses a button on you, and it's almost like if you like get a cut and you start bleeding. Like it's just it just feels like a biological response. It's not something that I'm trying to do or whatever.
It's not a fear.
That's not a phobia.
That's just
of course, the reason why a lot of people with this vasovagal response end up developing a phobia is because it's really scary to faint. And if you have a really bad experience with something, that might kind of escalate it into a phobia. Again, it doesn't happen for everyone, and not everyone with a phobia has this vasovagal reaction. I happen to have both. So, and the reason why I say Allie, I mean, I don't actually. I think it was probably bound to happen at some point, but
I remember
when we were young,
so vividly,
we were getting blood draws, and this was like the first blood draw I remember in my conscious memory.
Blood draws.
I think just routine, like blood work.
Whatever.
I think we were just getting like routine blood work, and we were both there, and it was kind of like, okay, like who's gonna go first? I was the older sister, so I was like, I got this, I'll go. Like I literally was just
know what was gonna happen. I think this is also like mom and dad. I don't blame them. Like I don't think a lot of parents prepare, because I would have been freaking out. But no one was like, okay, they're gonna stick a needle in your arm and blood's gonna come out. Like, I didn't know that was going to happen. All I see, I have no idea what a blood test is. I'm like, for all I know, they're just going to, like, take a picture of me. You know, like, I have no idea what is about to happen.
So,
and
they start doing it to me.
I'm just, Missy, like, plug your ears for a second.
Allie, no, I don't want to trigger any listeners who have this issue. And if this were me listening and I heard that, I'd be tuning out. Okay.
Okay. They do a blood draw on Missy, and I'm watching this, and I'm like, this is the most horrific thing
Allie is screaming. Like she is
screaming. I'm like, take it out of her arm right now. And I remember
she's having a drawing
the blood, going, I've never seen a child have a reaction to another child getting their blood drawn.
Well,
I'm freaking the fuck out.
I was like, Allie, calm down. I'm trying to remain calm.
And you know what? I was fine when they did it to myself.
It was really just to me.
I just love my sister, okay? What can I say? So watching someone hurt her was so scary to me.
Then I start to get up when they're done doing the blood draw, and I feel really faint. Like I was like, I can't see. And then I was like, I can't hear. And this was completely new to me because I had never had this reaction before. And it was really scary. And then I think I maybe didn't fully pass out because I was right around all these medical professionals. So they kind of like lied me down and like I was okay. But it was a really scary situation for me that just freaked me out. I was jealous
because then you didn't have to go to gymnastics.
Yeah, no, everyone was taking extra care, but I was so scared, and I just still remember from that moment on being like, I can never get a blood draw again. Like that was so scary. I don't know what's going to happen.
You were like, oh, maybe Allie was right.
Literally. And so I didn't really like tie the connection until much later with that story, because it just spiraled into this thing where I think I already like didn't like needles that much, but it was sort of like more like that. I just didn't like it. I wasn't afraid of it, but it started to, as like this happens with anxiety, it starts to grow and grow and grow. The more you avoid things or you worry about things, the fear starts to grow. So first it was, okay, I can't like look when I get a blood draw. And then it was, I can't get one, period, or I'm going to have this reaction. And then it started to be like, I can't even talk about it, or a situation where it might come up. I become so anxious that I like feel this almost like fainting reaction.
You actually have fainted just from hearing, seeing, thinking about, reading a book.
I have fainted.
A small procedure.
Yes. No, I've actually, like, a couple of scary things happened to me in college that I think like really ratcheted this fear right up, which are that when I was going into college, I was reading this book, and it was like a memoir about someone who had, and it was like a minor detail in her life that she had type 1 diabetes. And so she just like described a procedure that was done to her kind of offhandedly in a chat. It was so not the focus of the book, but I was alone in an airport and I literally almost fainted. Like I was hyperventilating. I thought you
actually did faint.
I didn't, because I was around a lot of people and I think people started to like come over and like help me. But I just got so scared that something could happen to me when I was alone. And that also scared me because I was like, wait, I'm not in a doctor's office. Like there was no part of me. It was something that was so unexpected. It was like any book could have this information. And then if I'm alone, what would happen? I could pass out. And then another thing happened where I actually like knew someone in college who had type 1 diabetes. And so she would need to give herself insulin. And this was like where it honestly kind of intersected with my social anxiety, because obviously what's really tough is there's no part of me that would ever want to like stigmatize that. I never would want to insinuate that that's like gross or not okay or anything like that. And I think that maybe, I don't know this girl's situation. I don't know her that well, but like, I think maybe she had come up against that understandably in her life. And so was a little bit like sensitized to if someone was sort of like maybe judging her situation, which was not at all what I intended to do and not how I feel. But what was really hard for me was it like happened in a couple situations where I was with her and I didn't expect it to come up. And I like felt that like I was going to pass out, and I was like, there was no socially acceptable
pass out.
There was one time where I did, where basically like, yeah, so I'll tell the whole story. So the first time I like almost did, and I was like, I'm really sorry, I need to lie down. It just felt like such a social faux pas, and I just felt so bad about it. And it really intersected with my social anxiety, because I hate when other people think that I might be doing something that's mean or judging them when that's truly not how I feel. Like there was, oh my gosh, like I was like, I would do anything not to be having this reaction right now. I promise you. It's not that I think anything bad about this. I just like truly didn't know what to do. Otherwise I was going to pass out. Right. And so I even like tried to talk to her after this, and I was like, hey, like, I am so sorry about that. I have this phobia. I promise I'm going to like work on it. If there's any, maybe in the future, if there's any way you could just like let me know, and I could always just like step out, because I would never want to make you feel uncomfortable. And unfortunately, I feel like the way that it was received was kind of like, she was kind of like, I'll make sure not to bother you in the future, which then just kind of made me feel like I hadn't properly gotten the message across. It just, the fact that I would be so anxious about like the social piece on top of the needle piece, like blew this up to the highest end.
I thought there was a situation at Starbucks.
Yeah, no, you're confusing things. But there was another time, the Starbucks one was when I almost fainted. But then the other time was when I knew that I was going to be seeing her, and just like we were all getting ready to go, and we all kind of like gathered in the lobby, and we're like, okay, we're going to go out. And I knew that there was going to be food involved, and I knew that there was a chance that she might need to use insulin, obviously. Again, this all makes sense, but I got so worried about both the like social piece and the needle piece that just as we were on our way, I like basically collapsed in the lobby. Like I got so lightheaded, I just started falling to the ground, and everyone was like, oh my God, what's happening? Like I couldn't even explain in the moment, because I just felt so whatever. So this really made it come to a head, because I was like, oh my gosh, even the possible thought that this might come up could spark it at any time. And so that really just kind of like sensitized me to it, I think, to where it was like, if someone even might possibly bring the thought of a needle up, I might faint. And that's going to be embarrassing, because people might think I'm being dramatic or trying to do something on purpose to get attention, or I don't know. Like I just was at a place with it that was really, really tough. So that was kind of the worst peak. Since then,
I personally think, like, just to chime in, that girl was unreasonable. Like, and I'm going to give an example. Okay, here's my example. If you have a service dog, I really respect that. And you should be able to bring that service dog wherever. But let's say you have a severe allergy to the dog.
Right.
Actually, both people have equal rights and access to public spaces. But I would hope that you would be like, in this situation, for example, you're like, you can bring your dog, can you just actually let me know? Because then, like, I'm really allergic.
I'll take Claritin or something.
So, like,
I don't know.
Yeah, so I'm going to prepare. And that person being like, I won't bother you. It's like, okay, listen, like, I understand that, like, you were trying to be accommodating of her. In no way were you saying, like, I can't believe you do that in public. You were just like, hey, I have a problem, not with you, but like my own phobia. And she took that as a personal insult, and that's on her. But obviously, like, you can't expect everyone to like react perfectly to things, and everyone's coming with their own background. But yeah, I just think that like that really upset me when because that made you upset. And I'm like, this girl is like, she needs to like grow up.
I don't know. Like, and also, like,
it's how I felt.
Also want to caveat, I can't be inside her head, and I think I am socially anxious, and so I do think there's totally a world where I was reading into it in a way that she didn't mean. Like, I want to give space for that too, that maybe she was just like, no worries, it's fine, but I was in my head like, oh my gosh, she totally thinks I mean that, it's not okay, and I think it, like, I don't, think she has the right to do this, or like whatever. I think that's a good parallel. Maybe. Though I don't know, whatever the case, it was like, for me personally in my journey, tough sort of like peak of this. And so I knew I needed to like address it in some way. And then when I was this was my senior year, but when I was out of college, I did exposure therapy.
Yeah, and you've gotten so much better. You have.
Helped a lot. It really helped so much. And it's interesting. I think that we kind of ended things where it was like, there's different goals with exposure therapy. Like, the goal is sometimes someone leaves exposure therapy and they're like, wow, I actually have zero fear to this thing anymore. Like, I don't care at all. But that's pretty rare. Usually I would say the even explicitly stated goal of exposure therapy is not to take away your anxiety. It's to help you, or like your initial fear to that thing. It's to help you know that you can cope with that situation. And therefore it's going to be easier for you to get through when you have to deal with that. And my stated goal, like, I'm not in the medical field. So I don't need to be around these things frequently. It was more that I need to be okay if out of the blue it's talked about. I need to be okay to not put off my own medical treatments because of this. Like, if it's needed, I need to be able to go. Were even if I'm not
scared. I can't recall you actually being scared of just like a shot.
I can't watch it, but I can't. I think
okay
it's so
with, like,
quick.
A shot, but the blood draws were really the issue.
I think because it's just a longer period of time.
Or getting like an IV or anything like that.
Yeah. IVs are like even worse for me. So yeah, with exposure therapy, maybe we can talk about what exposure therapy even is.
Yeah,
we're just using this term.
Because I feel like you've been through it, and you're also, I'm sure you may have done it with some of your clients to some extent.
I've done it with a bunch. It's a huge part of cognitive behavioral therapy. So even if it's not like the full course of therapy, it's a huge part of just like many types of therapy that you might do.
So what is exposure therapy?
Exposure therapy is essentially, it's hard to even define it without using the term exposure, but kind of exposing you to pieces of things that you are afraid of, to the point where you your body relearns a reaction to that experience. So whether you're afraid of, common ones might be like spiders, dogs, needles, you name it, you kind of work up to different levels of experiencing that thing, and your body kind of learns a new way of responding to that like stimulus, basically. And like I was saying, the goal is not to just take away your anxiety. It's to, again, really teach you that even if you are feeling fearful, there's ways that you can cope and get through that. And it's almost like you're practicing experiencing that thing. So then when you experience it in the wild, your body's like, okay, it's almost like an inoculation in a way. You're like, okay, I know what kind of response to handle this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Some common misconceptions. I was actually just talking to someone who was talking about exposure therapy, and they were like, I don't want to do that because it would just be like basically like this person is afraid of vomiting. And they were like, I don't want to do exposure therapy. That's a big one. Yeah. I don't want to do exposure therapy because that would mean that like day one, they would like make me vomit. And I was like, that's not,
girl.
That's not what that is.
How would
Like,
they do that?
I feel like a lot of people think exposure therapy and they think like scared straight. Like they think like you're afraid of dogs. Here's a scary dog. Just go interact with it. Go. Like that is not. She was like, well, what is that? And I was like, I don't know what that is, but that's not any kind of therapy.
I actually know exactly where people are getting this from a little bit, because there used to be a show on like TLC or something.
Yes.
Something like that. There's My Strange Addiction, but then there was like My Strange Fear or like Obsession or something, where they would literally take them to
just
a
throw you into the deep end. Yeah,
you're scared of, I remember there was something like, you know, a common one will be like germs or like contamination. They would like make them like lick pennies. Like, I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah. That's not exposure therapy, or I don't even know what to call that. And
that's good TV.
It's good TV. It's good TV. Usually, so there are a lot of nuances here in terms of what you'll do in exposure therapy. I can give an example though from like what I did with needles, where it started off where we would just talk about like blood draws or needles or things like that. And then we would watch videos of someone getting a blood draw or a vaccine, and probably maybe we started with the vaccine and then blood draw, and then I don't want to like trigger anyone, but like different blood draws, different veins in the body trigger me more or less. So it's kind of like, okay, like, can we try different scarier ones for me? And then the last one was like, the last thing we did was that actually it's kind of interesting, but my therapist was a certified phlebotomist. So like this was like a past thing that she had done and in her research career. And so she was able to draw my blood.
That's so valuable. That's like so
that
cool.
was great. I know, it was really great. But there's other key ingredients that I also want to back up and name. So the idea is not just that you're doing these practices, because a lot of people do say, oh, I try to lean into it, but then I get too scared, and then, or I learned that it was so scary, right? What about all the times where I was exposed to these things and actually my fear got bigger? Well, the reason was because there's not some of these other active ingredients of exposure in there, which are, you almost frame it like an experiment. So you go in and you predict, where is my anxiety going to, like, where is it at now? Where do I predict it's going to go? So maybe I would say it's going to get to an 8 out of 10 when I watch this video. And then also I might predict something else. Like, why does that even matter? Okay, well, if I get to this 8 out of 10, I'm not going to be able to do my work for the rest of the day because I'm going to be so anxious. So then you test that and you watch the video, and different things could happen. So maybe a lot of times what happens is you watch the video and you're like, actually, my anxiety's at a 5 out of 10. So that was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be, right? You'd been avoiding it all this time. You haven't actually done the thing. And another thing could happen, which happens also a lot with people. Maybe it's at an 8 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10. Let's say it's even worse than I predicted. The big thing is also like the follow-up, right? So then we would test, okay, then I would literally in my session for the rest of the time, like do work for that time. And it was like, okay, with this high level of anxiety, can I get through the rest of the things that I need to do? And pretty much the answer would be yes. Or like over time, she would check in with me 10 minutes later and be like, where's your anxiety now? And I'd be like, out of 5, right? Like, yes, it got to a 9, but now it's out of 5. And the lesson there is to be like, wow, within 10 minutes, I got through that. Like, I'm at a level now where like, it's not comfortable, but I'm an adult and I can handle like some anxiety, you know? So the idea with adding those active ingredients of kind of the science experiment are, you might sort of be aware of these things already, but to really clue your body into those things so that you kind of form new learnings around this experience. You're almost kind of retraining yourself to focus on these other elements and realize, okay, yes, it was very scary, and I'm used to focusing on the fact that it's very scary, but now I'm also realizing how soon my anxiety goes back down, or how I actually can get through this thing all the way.
Yeah. And I do think, I mean, I've talked about this before in like another element, but the way that you build confidence is putting yourself in uncomfortable situations and showing yourself that you can get through that. That is like my number one thing that I think about with like learning, building strong medical students, building strong kiddos, like everything. And I think the same goes, but you have to start slowly, because if you show yourself, if she had just started with a blood draw, you would have showed yourself, actually, I can't do work for the rest of the day.
Right,
like,
right.
That actually did put me out. But starting slow allows you to overcome slowly and build that confidence to the point where you're like, even if I do freak out, I have the tools to calm myself back down. Like when you build confidence in yourself, it doesn't mean that you're not going to have certain reactions, you're not going to be scared. It's that I can get through this is kind of the takeaway.
Yes.
Because
no, I think that's where exposure is baked into so many different kinds of treatments that you do with people. And part of the reason I love doing it with patients is because that's often a takeaway that people then have at the end, where they're like basically generalizing that to be like, wow, I actually can handle a lot more than I thought I was capable of by the end.
Yeah. I think a lot of us too have some element of irrational fears in our life. Like, you know, no one likes to get their blood drawn. A lot of you, I don't like spiders, but it has to be something that's obviously like interfering with your life. Like, I think that's where I would draw the line in terms of like how big of an issue is this actually. And so I think how to maybe test if like this is something that could be useful is really just thinking, well, like how much does it interfere with my life? Like, am I not able to do things that I want to do? Is this like interfering with social relationships? Is this interfering with like goals that I have? That might be a good litmus test. Like, I think we talk a lot about how like sometimes you don't necessarily need to meet quote diagnostic criteria for certain things. It's really about how is this impacting you, and a lot of people can benefit from things even if they don't meet the full criteria of something.
Totally. Yeah, I completely agree, because I think, and I would also be like honest with yourself about, because many times people can arrange their lives quite well to avoid their phobia. So I didn't even consider med school. Like a lot of people who are in clinical psychology they've toyed with med school or PhD, like that's what they're between. That never even crossed my mind, because I was like, I could not be around needles, like procedures, any of that stuff. If I would go to get anything like a blood draw at the doctor's, I would not look. I basically just like avoided any situation. If it was in a movie, anywhere, I would try to avoid. But the issue was when it really started to become out of my control, and it would like be in these social situations or places I never would have expected it to come up, is when I was like, oh, shoot, this is an issue. So be honest with yourself. If you're like, oh, I don't know, let's say really afraid of dogs, and I would just never get a dog, but you find yourself like not trying to go to certain parts of the city because might be dogs there or whatever it might be. Just be honest if there's ways where it could enhance your life to address this thing. And again, the goal is not to be like, and now you'll love it and it's going to be great. It may just be like you can functionally get through your life in a way that it's not really getting in your way to be so afraid of this thing. That makes sense. I should probably just close out the loop with my just being like, so doing this be the match thing.
Be the match is a test. This
is a trial that I was not expecting, because even with my therapist, we were kind of like, okay, like I'm not a doctor. I'm not trying to be around these things. I don't need to be like 1,000,000% comfortable. I just need to be like, okay in like sort of milder kinds of situations around needles. But I'm not going to get into the graphic details of what I need to do I will need to do if I do it. Of course, I will do it if it's needed.
That involves frequent injections of medications, and then there's the donation
on the day.
It's a lengthy procedure
involving a lot of different needles. While you're just fully awake to experience it. So just to name a pet peeve, please don't comment and be like, I did it and it didn't even hurt. I don't care. I wish that it hurt so that I could be distracted from my fear. Like, I don't care about the pain. It's just so scary to me. Anyway.
No, for sure. I think when people say that, they're thinking of like kids kind of needle phobia, where kids are scared that it's going to hurt. That's the fear there. But for an adult, I'm like, I don't think That's,
I
you're old
know
enough to
people
know
are
it
being
doesn't hurt
so
that
well
much.
mean. They're trying to be so well meaning where they're like, it doesn't hurt that much. And to me, I know it's like coming from such a good place, but it almost makes me feel like it's them minimizing my fear because I'm like, I'm not like such a wimp. Like I can handle pain. I can't handle just even the thought. I don't know why. It's like a physical response for me where I just like viscerally hate it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I can't wait to see if you get an epidural one day.
I literally as a child, I was conflicted because I didn't know much about childbirth other than TLC's. What was that show?
Oh my God. Baby Story.
Baby Story.
We watched that
And
religiously.
in that show, as you all know, we are both like, we've had baby fever since like day 0 of our lives. Yeah. But that show made me feel very conflicted because I loved everything about it except the epidural. I was like, if this is what's called for, I think I cannot have a baby one day. I will need to adopt. And then I learned there's such a thing as not getting an epidural. So that might be
you're
me.
Gonna want the epidural.
I can't claim to even know. I honestly am just like having an open mind because I'm like, I have no idea.
I'm gonna give you
what that, but I'm gonna
no.
Okay, I was talking to my friend about this who also has a needle phobia, and she was like saying the same thing. And there's someone else that we both know who just had a baby, and she was like catching up with her. My friend with a needle phobia was catching up with the woman who just had a baby. And she was like really trying to nail down like how was the epidural. And like this girl was like, oh yeah, like my contractions were like this, and then I labored for this amount of time, and then it was like painful in this way. And she's like, no, back up. I'm gonna need to tell like those 2 seconds. Yes, you were in pain for hours, but like tell me about the 2 seconds of the needle. And she's like, I don't know with you. Yeah, I got an epidural. And she's like, more elaborate. And the girl's like, I don't know what you want me to say. But I was very much relating to her. I was like, that's me. That's what I'm fixated on.
I think you'll be okay. Because that is more of like, you're going to feel like you want pain relief. Like, I think in other situations, there's no like, oh my God, you need to do this to have a goal that you actually want immediately.
Feel better.
Right? Like,
yeah, it's a good point.
But if someone were like, take this magic pill and your pain is going to go away, you'd be like,
give it to me.
I think you're going to want it. Like, I think you're going to do it and you'll be okay, actually. Because you will be very distracted by pain.
Who knows? If I end up donating stem cells, maybe I'll be like really cured of this phobia. Like, I can do anything. So, yeah. I think maybe. I will
say, Erin, our friend, donated stem cells. Kind of crazy that like 2 of the closest people in my life
were a match.
Were a match. And I forgot she was doing it, but she sent me this very like graphic photo of her getting the procedure, and I was like, oh my God, what happened to you?
What happened?
I was like, what happened? I thought she had a terrible thing happen to her. I was like, what is going on?
Well,
I was like, oh, you're getting that. I was like, ooh, that didn't look kind of bad.
Yeah. And again, I feel like it's a complicated thing for me to like complicated needle to thread, because I obviously have the perspective that like what my fear is truly nothing in comparison to what the person is going through who I'd be donating to. And so that for that reason, there is like truly no question in my mind that I would do it if it ends up being needed. But like, I'm like, I really thought that God chose his toughest soldiers for his toughest battles.
He chose his
maybe the idea soldier. Is that he chose his weakest soldier for this, but maybe the idea is that this is his easiest battle. Like, this truly is not a battle, and he's like, I'll give you this battle anyway.
Oh my gosh, I'm so yawny. Okay, gotta get that out.
I feel like I've been a little unhinged this whole episode, so hopefully
I've loved it. It's been good.
I'll update everyone and keep you posted next week. But exposure therapy, do it if you feel like you're afraid of anything. It's really helpful.
Okay.
Bye
guys.
Bye everyone.